Welcome to Toastmasters Pathways 101, your first steps. The brief topics that we're going to be going through today. First one, just some quick start definitions so that you know what you need to know in order to accomplish what we're discussing today. Logging into your Basecamp. There are two options due to some recent changes within the Toastmasters International website user interface. Option one is not as recommended. I'll explain a little bit more about that. However, it's where you sort of get put into when you first log in. It's something you can do, but as well I want to give you a different option which I do recommend. We'll go through both of those. Accessing your path, that's where your educational material is. Making sure that you understand a couple of basic terms within your paths in learning, it's called. We'll explore an example, and then finally we'll show you how to complete your first project, which will be your Icebreaker. The quick start definitions. The first one, what is pathways? People talk about pathways. What are they talking about? Well, pathways is the main Toastmasters International learning curriculum. Okay, well, I thought pathways and path were the same thing. Well, not quite. A path is one of the 11 separate curricula offered within pathways. So pathways is the overall curriculum, which includes all of those different curricula. And the path is the one that you individually are working on. Well, what is Basecamp? That one you're going to hear about as well. Basecamp is the online platform that Pathways uses. Then the final term is called a project. What is a project? This includes the speech or speeches, depending on the project, and other tasks required for completion and credit. Logging in. You will go to Toastmasters.org and you'll click Login as indicated. A little bit further down the screen, once you do that, you'll see the login option. You can either type in your member ID. Most of us just use the email, and that's the other option. So you can do either member ID or email. You type in your password and then click the login button. Now here we are at option one, where you sort of get to as soon as you log in. This is the less recommended version to be able to get to your Basecamp. However, it is one way to do it. I want to make sure you know about it. So you've just logged in. This is what it looks like. You'll see, in my case, welcome Dave. And this is kind of considered the home screen, if you will. And it is also indicated by the address at the top. You'll see toastmasters.org/myhome. And then the circle there where it says welcome Dave, there's a down arrow that you can select for my home, as well as those other two options. But the reason for that is you will want to get to this specific home, my home screen, for other things as we go along, which is a bit beyond the scope of this video. However, this is something that you can do, which is go to Basecamp. We're about to show you how to do that if you're directly here and you want to do this option as indicated. The arrow on the left just shows that a little bit further down the screen you will see this, My Education and Achievements. You would select Go to Basecamp, which again is the online platform that Pathways uses. It will ask you at this point what club you want to be interacting with. The exact wording at the top there. Go to Basecamp. Select the club you'd like to interact with on Basecamp as a member. Now, if you're a Basecamp manager, if you're not sure what that is, that's okay. You probably won't even see that bottom option there. But if you are also a Basecamp manager, you'll see both of these options. And you'll see on the top Club A, Club B. That's if in case you have one, or I should say more than one club that you're in. And I just arbitrarily used Club A, Club B for the names that you would select. You would, of course, select one of those. And similarly, if you're Basecamp manager for more than one club, you would do the same. Now here is the recommended, call this option 2 if you want, version for logging into Basecamp. It's a bit more consistent. Again, I could be a little bit picky, I'll let you be the judge. But you click on Education Programs instead of doing all that other business. So you just click on that, regardless if you're home screen or not, you just click on Education Programs. And a little further down the screen, that will open up this option. You can see Go to Basecamp, and then you click Access. You might be tempted to click on the word Pathways next to Education Programs. Don't do that. That's just explanatory about Pathways. What you need to do is within Education Programs, as indicated, just go to Basecamp by clicking that Access button. Once you do, you will select what you want to be your home club. At some point, you'll be getting a chance to complete levels, education awards, and different clubs will get credit for that. That comes into play when you need to select a given club. So if you have multiple clubs, in this case, maybe you selected Club A, which we're doing right now, and then go to Basecamp. And there you are. You are at Basecamp right there. At the top, you'll see Home, Paths and Learning, Tutorials, and Resources in the top left, just above that. We're going to go into that more in just a moment. But the reason I mention that is Paths and Learning, which is where your educational material is, the paths that you are working with, have some basic terms that I just want to make sure you quickly know about. The first one is Activate. This is what engages the path or project for the first time, and that is only needed your first time accessing that. Next is Open Curriculum. That's once you have done it for the first time. Open Curriculum is associated with opening your path. And then Launch is what starts the project within your path. So that's associated with your project. And again, we're going to show you more about this. So just to give an example, at the time my path was Leadership Development, and if I had never been there, as indicated, I'd have to click on Activate. So I would click on that, and then you can see now I'm given the option to open the curriculum. The curriculum is like a book. You open the book so that you can access it. So you open the curriculum. Similarly, maybe I've never opened this project called Write a Compelling Blog, so I have to activate it, and then I would launch it. That's the word we utilize for an individual project. Excellent. Here we are at your Basecamp. A couple things that I want to bring to your attention. Really, the first thing is these these terms here at the top. You've got the Home, Paths and Learning, Tutorials and Resources. The reason these are important, in my opinion, is because no matter where you're at within your Basecamp, if you get lost, if you're exploring, can't find your way back, or you just simply quickly want to get to these places, they will get you there no matter where you are, no matter what's going on. An example, Home. That's the screen you're looking at right now. It is a little bit funny in the TI user interface because you have to put your mouse over Home, for example, but if you try to click on that, nothing happens. So the way it works is you have to hover over it, and then just below it you can click on the word Home. You do that and it works. Now, of course, we were already there. The other one that you can do, of course, is Paths and Learning, similarly. And then finally, this is also true for Tutorials and Resources. However, I don't particularly recommend the Tutorials and Resources section. If you would like to check it out, by all means, of course, do. And if you get lost within Tutorials and Resources, you can always go to any one of these three and get there right where you need to be when you need to be there. So next I want to go to Paths in Learning. Paths in Learning is where you're going to be accessing your paths, your projects, your educational material. You could certainly do it up here, but if it's too complicated, trying to hover over it and click over the thing below it, you can click on the big one here. It's just called Paths in Learning. It's very big. You just click on that. And that will bring up all of your paths. Now I'm in 3 different paths, so you'll see all of these. And I'm going to go ahead and select Motivational Strategies, that path. You might remember we click on Open Curriculum. It's like opening the book. The book is your curriculum, your path, and we open it. We open the curriculum. Now, just to quickly show you around in my path, on the left side, you can see all of the levels. You've got level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, path completion. You can access any of those individually. Right now, level 1, especially being a beginner's video, to kind of doing this for one of your first times, level 1 is appropriate. We'll be approaching your icebreaker in a moment, but if you wanted to look around, you could click on level 2, and you can see the projects within there, similarly throughout. But for today, we're just going to click on level 1, and this is the icebreaker. This is the first project that you'll do as a new member, and then you would click on Launch. I also, at this time, want to just remind you of a resource called the Pathways Learning Center. And I'm going to use a sample icebreaker project that is available here. So just assume that you clicked Launch, and you can either do it right from your own Basecamp, or if you want to do the sample without affecting your Basecamp at all, you can experiment. Nothing happens. You just start at the beginning Pathways resources. Just as a quick review, to get to the Pathways Learning Center for our district, you go to our district homepage, d7toastmasters.org, and then you go to Pathways, down arrow, Pathways Learning Center, and you're right there. So we scroll down in this beginning Pathways section until we get to the sample icebreaker. So here it is, Practice Sample Icebreaker Project. You click on this button, click here to practice if you would like to practice, and it will be asking you for your language. In this case, we'll use English. And as this is loading, what you're about to see is the icebreaker. It's going to look exactly the same on your system. All I did there was just made the screen a little bit smaller so we can see it a little bit better. Now you could just click on Begin, and that would just go through everything one at a time. I'm going to show you a very streamlined way to get anywhere, anytime within this project window, and for that matter, any project window in any level, any path. So that is done. In the section here, it says select to move between sections. You can just click the up arrow, and we've got it all available right there. I'm going to show you 4 different sections to be aware of. The first one is just called Video Navigation, and that tells you how to navigate around, if you will, within any of the projects, particularly the icebreaker at this time. You can watch this video. It's about 4 minutes. We're not going to do the whole thing, of course, but that will tell you pretty much everything you need to know about getting around. If you're taking the streamlined approach as we are, we'll hit the up arrow again. So that's the first section, the navigation. Next is the educational material. That starts here with the introduction. It tells you what your project is, in this case the icebreaker, and then as you read through that material, that will take place all the way through part 1, all the way through part 2, even all the way through part 3, until you get to evaluation resources. Something I want to make sure that you're aware of is, for the most part, each of your projects are going to have two things that need to take place for you to get credit within your educational program. First one is to have given your speech, and secondly, to have been evaluated on your speech. So that's why this is so important. So again, we clicked on Evaluation and Resources. Your evaluation form is simply called Evaluation Resource. So you would click on this. This is the form that your evaluator will use for you when you're giving your speech. So you can just see what that looks like. We can make sure that they have that in one form or another. You can either download that right from your browser. You can print it out and give it to them. Just the idea is to make sure that they have a copy of your evaluation form so that you can give your speech and get credit for it. Then the final aspect that I want to show you, once you've made sure that that evaluation form is available for your evaluator, and hopefully they send it back to you once they're completed doing that for you, is what's called Assess Your Skills After. This is what actually gets it checked off within Pathways. So you fill out this survey. Now I'm going to do it quickly. I'd recommend, of course, you take your time. And you might notice I'm not going to the chevron in between, but in fact I keep clicking next after I enter something. That's how this works, and that'll make sure that you get credit. So I'm just simply doing these one at a time. As we go, we fill in the number, then we click next until all of those circles are filled. Next again. And the last one will give the option to click Submit. So we click Submit. We've looked at the before and after. You click the X to show that in fact you did observe that, and then you finally click the chevron to the right once all that is done, and that brings you to having gotten the check mark. You can certainly review all of these, part 1, 2, 3, 4, and ultimately you will see this congratulations screen, and that indicates that it is checked off in your Pathways base camp. Excellent. Again, we are at the congratulations screen since you just completed your Icebreaker project. And what that will do is enable that check mark that you see on the screen when you go back to looking at your overall path before you clicked on launch for the Icebreaker. It is that check mark that indicates that that was completed. Just to build the value of what you just learned with completing your Icebreaker, it is useful to remember that in fact the way you just did this is how you will complete every project in every level, in every path. To recap what we covered today in this video, first of all, the quick start definitions. Secondly, logging into your base camp. We showed you those two options. The first one where you get sort of placed when you first log into TI. It wasn't my recommendation to completely go that way, but you certainly could. Option 2 is my personal recommendation, but you have either available. Accessing your path, making sure you knew about the basic terms used within there, explored the example, and completed the Icebreaker as your first project.